Hello everyone, and welcome back to Mattwos Random Reviews. With the upcoming Doctor Who 50th Anniversary Special, Christmas Special, and the 11th Doctor's Last Adventure nearly here, I figured I'd dedicate the next few episodes to Doctor Who. As I mentioned in my Angels Take Manhattan review, Doctor Who is a huge international phenomenon. But it's only become one in the more recent years thanks to the success of the reboot starting with the Ninth Doctor. This has caused more than a few fans to become ignorant of anything that happened before then. And I'm sure there's plenty of people who don't know that might be interested. For example, did you know that the first Doctor's companion was not only a fellow Time Lord, but his granddaughter? Granted, all of their adventures where it was just them existed solely in the extended media. Did you know that the Doctor had another Time Lord companion who would go on to serve as Lord President before Rassilon took over? Did you know that the Doctor had a female Time Lord enemy? Did you know that there's an evil future incarnation of the Doctor that somehow appeared in what was the Doctor's present and the Master had to help him out? The regular version of the Doctor is who the Master helped. Did you know that there was a time where the Doctor was actually unable to use the TARDIS because the Time Lord High Council wouldn't let him? Did you know that the first Doctor technically didn't actually regenerate? And I know it was before regeneration was introduced, but it actually wasn't the regeneration. He had that TARDIS help him out. For right now, I'm just going to cover this first tidbit of information. Something important to remember, the classic version of Doctor Who was serialized, and each episode was part of a multi-part serial. I'm just gonna be reviewing one episode of each. Oh, and this was made before color TV, but long after they started adding sound to movies. Yeah, so it's going to be incredibly low quality. In this case, we're gonna go back to where it all began, the first episode of the first serial. So get ready as we discover the secret of the unearthly child. Roll the thing, story writer.
There's always something to remind me of another place and time.
The episode starts as the very first Doctor Who intro. It's very different from those modern Doctor Who intros with the TARDIS flying through the time vortex, isn't it? Well, trust me, it actually changes every now and then. Something modern Doctor Who hasn't really properly done yet. After the intro, we see a policeman wandering around in some fog. He discovers a door or something that has barely legible text. It says, "I am Foreman, scrap metal." This would be explained in the aforementioned extended media. Spoiler alert, Susan Foreman is not the real name of the doctor's granddaughter. The door inexplicably opens and the camera moves in on the police box, which, as most of you probably guessed, is the TARDIS. The scene shifts to Cole High School, where Susan is leaving class and the two teachers meet. The teachers Barbara Wright and Ian Chesterton discuss how Susan appears to be smarter than she should be, and that she seems to be rather suspicious when it comes to her personal life. Well, she's an alien who lives in a police box that's bigger on the inside with her alien granddad. I'd try to keep that hush-hush too if I were her. Barbara had gone to 76 Cotter's Lane to talk to the doctor, but she says there wasn't anything there and that it was just a scrapyard. As it turns out, that's actually Foreman's scrapyard. The two decide to stake out the lot until Susan gets there. They first go to Susan, who is still at the school, to lend her history book on the French Revolution. They give her the book and offer her a ride, but Susan refuses. As the teachers leave, Susan picks up the book, opens it, and immediately notices something is amiss. Yeah, if I were the producers of the show, I would have had to actually read into it before she noticed something was amiss instead of looking at the front flap and, oh no, something's wrong. Anyway, the two teachers arrive at the scrapyard and discuss the mystery surrounding Susan some more, and we get a couple of amusing flashbacks.
I'm sorry, Miss Wright. Don't be silly, Susan. The United States has a decimal system. You know perfectly well that we do not.
Of course the decimal system hasn't started yet. Yes, I can see red turns to blue, Mr. Chesterton, but that's because we're dealing with two inactive chemicals. They only act in relation to each other.
But that's the whole point of the experiment, Susan.
Yes, it's a bit obvious, isn't it? Well, I'm not trying to be rude, but couldn't we deal with two active chemicals? Then red could turn blue all by itself and we can get on with something else. I'm sorry. It was just an idea.
Yes. Something like that happened the other day. I'd set the class a problem with A, B, and C as the three dimensions.
It's impossible unless you use D and E.
D and E? Whatever for? Do the problem that's set, Susan.
I can't, Mr. Chesterton. You can't simply work on three other dimensions.
Three of them? Time being the fourth, I suppose. Then what do you need E for? What do you make the fifth dimension?
Space.
They notice Susan go in the scrapyard, talk some more, and finally decide to go in. They look around, but Ian drops his flashlight, which for some reason impedes them none. The Barbara discovers the TARDIS and they notice it's vibrating for some reason. Oh yes, I know what you're thinking. Stop thinking it.
It's alive!
Far as I know, I'm pretty sure that's not actually going to be a thing until after the reboot, but I digress. They examine the TARDIS and not being able to figure anything out, and Barbara says they should find a policeman when they heard the doctor and took cover. And as the doctor unlocks the TARDIS, they happen to hear Susan for some reason. Gee, I wonder why. They question the doctor, but naturally he denies everything and tries to get rid of them.
One of our pupils, Susan Foreman, came into this yard.
Really? In here? Are you sure?
Yes. We saw her from across the street.
One of their pupils, not the police then.
I beg your pardon?
Why were you spying on her? Who are you?
We heard a young girl's voice call out to you.
Your hearing must be very acute. I didn't hear anything.
It came from in here.
You imagined it.
I certainly did not imagine it.
Unfortunately for the doctor, Susan's curiosity gets the better of her and the doctor traps the teachers inside. The teachers take the idea of the TARDIS being bigger on the inside well enough, at least. And no, that's not deadpan sarcasm.
Follow me.
Is this really where you live, Susan?
Yes.
And what's wrong with it?
But it was just a telephone box.
Perhaps.
And this is your grandfather?
Yes?
Well, why didn't you tell us that?
I don't discuss my private life with strangers.
But it was a police telephone box. I walked all round it.
Ian thinks it's some kind of illusion and insists on understanding how the TARDIS works, but the Doctor says he won't understand. Susan explains that she coined the term TARDIS based on the initials.
I made up the name TARDIS from the initials, time and relative dimension in space.
Whether or not she actually coined the term herself is incredibly questionable at best. Ian, however, is still not convinced.
It can move anywhere in time and space?
Yes.
Quite so.
But that's ridiculous.
Why won't they believe us?
Well, how can we?
And then the Doctor makes a rather amusing analogy.
Now, don't get exasperated, Susan. Remember the Red Indian. When he saw the first steam train, his savage mind thought it an illusion too.
The Doctor explains that he's from another time and space and planet and is cut off from his people. And this is before they actually explained that he's an alien. I think that wasn't until the third Doctor. Susan begs the Doctor to let the teachers go, but the Doctor still refuses. The teachers then try to impose their ignorance upon Susan. She doesn't take it well.
Keep us here.
Susan, listen to me. Can't you see that all this is an illusion? It's a game that you and your grandfather are playing, if you like, but you can't expect us to believe it.
It's not a game.
But Susan,
It's not! Look, I love your school. I love England in the 20th century. The last 5 months have been the happiest of my life.
But you are one of us. You look like us. You sound like us.
I was born in another time, another world.
Now look here, Susan, you... Oh, come on, Barbara. Let's get out of here.
The teachers try to escape but find that they can't. Ian tries to find the door lever but gets zapped. You know, somehow I think the Doctor planned that to happen somehow. Susan tries again to convince the Doctor to let them go and stay where and when and where they were. The Doctor, once again, refuses. Susan says that she'd rather leave the Doctor and the TARDIS behind if it meant getting her way. Wow, what a brat! The Doctor agrees, but then sets the TARDIS into flight. The teachers faint as it takes off. Actually, I should correct myself. She's not really a brat, but she is really needing to let go. Man, the time vortex sure looked different back then, didn't it? The TARDIS lands in a prehistoric age, teacher still passed out, and the episode ends as we see a shadow of an early human. I can't really say I can properly rate this episode. Bear in mind, this was the 1960s, and technology wasn't really that good back then. I do think it was a misstep to record the night scenes back then, though. I suppose the high school didn't end in the afternoon back then? I really don't know about that day and age. So I literally have nothing further to say about this episode, I'm sorry. That sounded like it came from outside. I better go look. Mattwo, we have come to delete you. Our master has given us this mission. Your master? You mean some kind of cyber leader sort of deal thing, right? No, our master is it. Our master. Something's not right here. Though, I hope I'm not too late for my obligatory camp eat. Oh. Yeah, this is gonna have to be continued. Till next time, stay tuned. International phenomenon. Phenomenon? Phenom?